You're listening to the Thriving Mindfully podcast. I'm Ananda Leeke, your Thriving Mindfully coach and podcast host. I'm also an artist, an author, a human design doula, and an interfaith reverend. The Thriving Mindfully podcast is a heart-centered, digital sacred space that I created to inspire and empower you to be present, well, and the real you. Tune into the latest conversation I've been having with myself and others about nurturing, transforming, and celebrating our lives, relationships, and career. Today's podcast explores how you can shine your light on yourself when you share your living. Share your living is the third core commitment of the Thriving Mindfully, heart-centered approach to being present, well, and the real you. Share your living is all about mindful communication. So tune in to what I had to say. 2 years ago, I was deep into supporting members of the Thriving Mindfully Academy. We were, 8 months into the global pandemic. 2020 was a year like no other, and there was so much going on. We were in the middle of the elections in the United States. There was economic instability, divisive politics, fake news, and the constant acts of injustice and oppression, police brutality, and violence against Black, Indigenous, and people of color, women, children, the elderly, the disabled, and the LGBTQ community. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And that same stuff is still happening today, just as it has happened in the years and the decades and the centuries before 2022. All of that created so much stress, anxiety, depression, fear, trauma, and other emotions for the folks in the Thriving Mindfully Academy, as well as people that I was connected with online in different communities, social media followers, family, friends, colleagues, peers, all neighbors. So much stuff was on our plate and continues to be on our plate. And so I thought to myself, what can I do to support folks in taking care of themselves? And I thought about kindness, loving kindness in particular. And my definition of loving kindness is the act of befriending yourself with gentleness and non-judgment in all you feel, think, say, and do. And it is one of the mindful self-care vitamins that I use on a regular basis. It's part of the big five that I like to say in the Thriving Mindfully Academy that helps me and helps the Academy members move through their day. And so in 2020, what I decided to do was to create Loving Kindness Month in November. And in particular, I chose November because it is November 13th, World Kindness Day, that always reminds me to be kind first to myself, and then to loved ones, and then to others. And so I want to encourage you to embrace World Kindness Day every day in addition to November 13th. And my hope is that in developing our kindness, our loving kindness muscle for ourselves, that we can develop our muscle of loving kindness for each other, that we can try to learn to treat each other fairly with generosity and kindness, and that we can take small steps, very small steps, in shifting what many of us see and experience. So, I want to invite you to explore how you can be kind to yourself. How can you be kinder to yourself? One or two ways that you can be kinder to yourself. And I'll give you one of my go-tos in being kind to myself and expressing loving kindness. I start with a hug. It's really simple, just a hug. Because what I learned during the early days of the pandemic is that when I hug myself for 20 seconds or more, I am activating the self-care. I call it the super self-care hormones of serotonin, the feel-good hormone, and oxytocin, the love hormone. And together they reduce the stress hormone of cortisol in my body. And when I'm able to be calm, to be grounded, I can tap into my heart for that loving kindness. I can be kinder to myself. And when I'm kinder to myself, when I'm able to befriend myself with gentleness and non-judgment in the things that I feel, the things that I think and say and do, I'm making it possible for me to be kind to others. But I first start with myself. So try a hug. And then I want to share with you a ritual that I've been practicing ever since the 90s, on and off. And I recently decided to incorporate it into my practice, my self-care practice, after getting some coaching support from my coach, Marilyn Fontaine, and one of her wonderful week-long challenges that she had in October was about reconnection rituals. And one of the rituals that she introduced us to and reintroduced it to me was the mirror work, the self-love mirror work that I first learned about through Louise Hay. And Louise Hay is no longer with us in the physical realm. She is an amazing ancestor, and she taught me through her amazing healing work how to take better care of myself, how to love myself. And so the self-love mirror work is simply taking some time throughout your day, maybe in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening, to look in the mirror and say to yourself 10 times, or maybe more if it works for you, that you love yourself. So what I say is, I love you, Ananda. And I say it slow, and I look in my face and I smile in the mirror. I look in my eyes. And some days it's easier than others. I also say it to myself before I get out of bed. I say it a few times as I hug myself. So you may want to bring the hug to the mirror work and hug yourself as you say, I love you, and then you say your name. And just notice how your body feels afterwards. Notice if you shift any tension or tightness in your face or in your body. Notice if you feel more connected to yourself. I'd love to hear what you are planning to do to be kind to yourself. And if you want to use, here's another tip. If you want to use the month of November, which is Loving Kindness Month, brought to you by the Thriving Mindfully Academy and yours truly. If you want to use November as a 30-day challenge, because there's 30 days in November, go ahead and use it and practice being a loving and kind person to yourself first. Start with yourself first and try it for 30 days and notice as you practice a hug or self-love mirror work or both, or maybe you find another way to practice being loving and kind towards yourself. But just notice how you shift the energy inside of you, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your self-care, your self-love practices. Notice. It's a good way to practice. I'd love to hear about your progress and your loving kindness journey. Please, wherever you find this podcast, leave a comment about what you are doing in your life, in your relationships, in your career to practice loving kindness for yourself. And then if you have the capacity to be kind for others, share how you're doing that. Share how you're being kind towards others. I'd love to hear about it. I look forward to hearing from you in the comment section of this podcast, or you can send me an email at ananda@anandaleeke.com, or you can always hit me up on Instagram or LinkedIn. I will tell you that right now, my energy for social media is not really high, so I'm on and off of those platforms. I do have a presence on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and I pop in and I pop out. So I'm being kind towards myself by really taking some steps back in my social media. So hit me up through email or wherever you find this podcast. I'll eventually see your comment. That's just me being real, y'all. Well, until next time, I will see you. Make sure you tune into the next messages because I got something special for you. And I'll see you soon. Bye. So here's something really special that I thought you could use to strengthen your loving kindness muscle for yourself first and then for others. Because here's the deal. In your relationships with others, you can be a person that offers them loving kindness when you have grounded yourself in your own loving kindness practice. So I want you to first think about taking some time to explore these reflection questions and journaling invitation. And you can explore it throughout the month of November or whenever you hear this podcast. Because remember, November is Loving Kindness Month. World Kindness Day is November 13th. And you could use the 30 days in November to explore these reflection questions and to journal about them. So, the first question is, what does loving kindness mean to you? What does loving kindness mean to you? Now, you can stop this podcast and take some time to reflect on it. There's no time limit. The second question is, what does loving kindness look like in your life? What does loving kindness look like in your life? And then the third question is, what prevents you from embodying and expressing loving kindness for yourself? What prevents you from embodying and expressing loving kindness for yourself? Now, the fourth reflection question is, what do you want your loving kindness to look like? What do you want your loving kindness to look like? And that's in your life towards yourself, now in your relationships, and in your career. What do you want your loving kindness to look like in your life, in your relationships, and in your career? And then the fifth and final question is, what is one thing you can do to express loving kindness in yourself during the next 30 days? What's one thing that you can do to express loving kindness towards yourself in the next 30 days? Guess what? If you are ready to practice loving kindness towards others, if you feel like you have that space and the energy and the groundedness to do that, I want to invite you to think about what is one thing you can do to practice loving kindness towards others, the folks that you have relationships with. All right? Again, let me know how you're doing with your loving kindness journey. You can leave a comment wherever you find this podcast. You can hit me up with an email at ananda@anandaleeke.com, or you can send me a direct message on social media. I hang out on Instagram and LinkedIn these days when I do show up online. So that's probably the best place to catch me. All right? Tune in to another special message, and I'll see you next time. Bye. So here's the last special message for you about loving kindness. So here are two things: a loving kindness mindful moment for yourself that you can practice for a few minutes. That's 1 to 5 minutes. And then a loving kindness practice for others. So you can start or end your day with a loving kindness moment. All you need are a few minutes. And guess what? You get 1,440 minutes each and every day. So here's how you can do the loving kindness moment. Begin by taking 3 to 7 deep breaths. Allow yourself to become still as you breathe, and then notice how your body feels. Pay attention to any physical sensations, any tension, any tightness, any tingling. And then shift your awareness to becoming aware of your breath. Notice the sound of the breath. And then tune into your thoughts. All you're doing is you're witnessing the thoughts. You're not trying to push them away or to address them. You're just noticing the thoughts. And then continuing to breathe at your own body's natural rhythm. Just allow your body to breathe. And then set an intention to open your heart and offer yourself loving kindness. And you can use this affirmation to help yourself open up to loving kindness. Today, I befriend myself with gentleness and non-judgment. I am patient and tolerant of my flaws and inadequacies. I forgive myself for my shortcomings. I give myself space and grace to be human. So I'm going to repeat that affirmation statement. Today, I befriend myself with gentleness and non-judgment. I am patient and tolerant of my flaws and inadequacies. I forgive myself for my shortcomings. I give myself space and grace to be human. So, here's a wonderful way to practice loving kindness for loved ones and others in your life. And it is just giving yourself another loving kindness moment. So start by slowing down and breathing deeply. And as you become still, notice the body. Become aware of the breath. And then bring to mind one of your loved ones or another person. If it feels good to touch your heart, touch your heart. And then listen to this loving kindness statement. And then say the name of your loved one. And I'll go slow. Listen. May my loved one be peaceful, happy, and free of suffering. May my loved one be safe, healthy, and well. May my loved one open their heart to themselves and live at ease. So, I'm going to repeat that so that you can replace the phrase, my loved one, with the name of the person that you'd like to direct this towards. Or you can just say, my loved ones. Or if you have a person other than a loved one that you want to direct this statement towards, just replace the phrase, my loved one, with that person or the persons. So, may my loved one be peaceful, happy, and free of suffering. May my loved one be safe, healthy, and well. May my loved ones open their hearts to themselves and live at ease. So, after completing that, taking 3 big breaths in and out, and then repeating that, and then ending with a hug, expressing gratitude towards yourself and for your loved ones and the people that are around you. All right? Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. So, I thought I would also share 10 ways to give yourself loving kindness. 10 ways. And I already shared, I think, 2 of them already. But I'm going to give you the full 10. So, 10 ways to give yourself loving kindness. Know you are worthy of loving kindness just because you are who you are. That's the first. The second is to breathe deeply and set an intention each day to befriend yourself with gentleness and non-judgment. The third is to speak kind words to yourself with daily affirmations. The fourth is to give yourself a big hug, and we talked about this early, about the power of hugging. The fifth is to practice a loving kindness meditation. The sixth is to be kind to your mind by unplugging from your digital devices for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour or more each day. And I'm learning how to do that, to step away from social media. That's what I've been doing. The seventh way to give yourself loving kindness is to listen to your body and give it water, healthy food, physical movement as much as you can possibly do, and sleep when it needs it. The eighth way to give yourself loving kindness is to watch out for your inner critic and give yourself compassion, patience, and forgiveness, because you are human and you make mistakes. All right? Number 9, the ninth way to give yourself loving kindness is ask for and accept help when you need it. Did you hear me? Ask for and accept help when you need it. That's not something that I always find easy to do because it makes me vulnerable. But I'll tell you that in the month of October of 2022, I woke up the first several days of the month and I was not feeling grounded, and my energy was low, and I was feeling all these feelings. And so I realized after a couple days that I needed to get help. And so I contacted my therapist, Dr. T. I reached out to my coach, Marilyn Fontaine, and signed up for her Fall Reconnection Rituals Challenge. I leaned into that community. That was a sacred community. I let my accountability and prayer partner know what was up, and I reached out to a community of sacred friends that I use for support, and I asked for help, and I got it. So the 10th way to give yourself loving kindness is to say no to the thoughts, actions, people, and things that don't make you happy, so you can say yes to what makes you happy. So those are just 10 ways to give yourself loving kindness. All right? Stay tuned for one more message, one more special message. Thanks for tuning in to the Thriving Mindfully podcast. If you're ready to be inspired and empowered with my coaching support, join me in the Thriving Mindfully Academy. Visit anandaleeke.com/academy. Now, if you're ready to dive deeper and move past your comfort zone with my one-on-one coaching program, book a discovery call with me today. Visit anandaleeke.com. If you need something juicy to read, check out my 3 mindfulness books: Love's Troubadours, a self-love and yoga-inspired novel; That Which Awakens Me, a mindful creativity memoir; and Digital Sisterhood, a mindful technology memoir. Go to anandaleeke.com/books. All of my books are available on Amazon.com. Well, that about wraps us up. And as I always like to say, may we all continue to embrace thriving mindfully in everything that we think, feel, say, and do. See you next time.